Islam, Moors, can you stand and face the east?
According to the Circle 7 and principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we honor all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days to come. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Ameen.
Moors, do me a favor, can you turn your phones on vibrate? Islam? Islam, Moors, I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I'm going to quote
Jesus. In the modern days, there came a forerunner who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name was Marcus Garvey. Islam? Islam. I don't think we talk about Garvey enough more, but that's a pertinent piece. Islam. I'm going to quote this real fast and get out of the way and let them demonstrate their man.
This is from a Message to the People, Course in African Philosophy, page 34. No race is free until it has a strong nation of its own. Islam? Its own system of government, its own order of society. Never give up this idea. Let no one persuade you, let no one persuade you against it. It is the only protection for your generation and your race. Hold on to the idea of an independent government and nation as long as other men have them. Never be satisfied to always live under the government of other people, because you will always be at their mercy. Islam? Islam. Visualize for yourself and your children and generations unborn your own kings, emperors, presidents, your own government officials and administrators who look like you. Islam?
Islam. So in the spirit of Garvey, we're going to demonstrate.
Yes, Islam.
All right.
Islam, peace, and love to all. I'm RahsMariah Bay, and with RV Publications, you'll see we have the literature over there, because in order to change people, you must change the literature. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're here for. We're going to do, Tarik and I are going to do a demonstration about a half an hour on Astrologic, or Astrology. First thing I need you to know is that astrology is the study of the working of nature, and that you are a product of nature. Astrology is not a cult, aside from the fact that someone took culture off of the end of it. It's culture. It has always been Moorish science. Every religion that one might have gotten involved with will use certain terms and symbols that I will show you today. We will show you today comes from astrology or astrologic, not the other way around. Now what happened is, in an effort to get us, to not, in fact, know ourselves, they had to take you away from, or attempt to take you away from astrology. And that is what seems to have successfully have been done, because most people do think that it is, in fact, some wicked, satanic process of learning, and it is absolutely not. Now, there are people who utilize it in that fashion, because everything that you deal with is the energy, and how you deal with that energy makes it either a negative or a positive, or good or bad. So you're pulling in the energies at all times. It's around you, and you're pulling in how you utilize it is what it shall manifest to be. So with that, you have certain elementals, which when you learn astrologics, that's one of the first things you learn, are the elements. This is why you send your children to elementary school, to learn about the elements. However, the school system that we have been subjected to does not teach about the elements. But that's where they got the idea of elementary school. So we have to start teaching our children the elements. Sisters, when we have children, when we want to have children, we would utilize astrologics to conceive, so that we would bring beings in from the monad plane. Now what that is, if we're on the physical plane, we have nomads, correct? That's physical bodies wandering on the physical plane. But on the astral plane, we have monads, which are souls, bodies without, or souls without the body. When we mate and we utilize the sexual energy, we are pulling in, because that is the strongest energy that exists. Of course, it's become debased. We are pulling in a monad. When we see our society and we look at what we, sisters, have brought in, because nothing comes in unless it comes through the womb. Nothing. We need to start looking at ourselves and saying, how are we mating? How are we dealing with this sexual energy? It really is a responsibility that lies on the system. It does. So when we decided in the past that we would conceive, we certainly took into consideration what the influences were from the cosmos. The five-pointed star blanketly represents the cosmos, but there are other symbols that represent the cosmos as well, or certain planets, which are the gods. If the moon's influence is strong enough to pull the tides of oceans, I'm talking about the one out there too, like all of them, on the entire earth plane, and we're made up of 75% water. For us to say, oh, I don't believe in that, is either we are ignorant or we are vain. You choose which one it is. I'm not judging. But that's what we have to recognize and acknowledge with ourselves. That if we do not recognize and acknowledge our merciful gods, which are what all of the stories that you read about, all of the religions, a lot of us are into, we've done a lot of Egyptian studies, and we'll talk about some of the planets, not knowing that we're talking about the representation of the planets, like Maiatis Libra. So sometimes we'll go into a situation where we found it. We found the answer, and this is it, and we praise that, and we stop there. We have to not stop there. We have to go to the source. The source are the planetary influences that created that attribute or characteristic that got named by those people during that time, those different names. And some of them they're the same names, different names, but the same character. So we have to have full understanding of this. So therefore we go to the source, which means we are sorcerers, because we are the source, or we are utilizing the source. So again, a sorcerer is not a negative thing unless someone utilizes it that way or accepts that you are using sorcery, which is a bad thing. No, it is not. We are going to the source, and that is definitely the planet. So what we want to do today, and one other thing, sisters, that I want to say before we go into our symbology is, again, going into the astral plane, we talk about when we come together and we have wonderful experiences or sexual experiences, and we say, that's great, he took me to heaven and back. Literally, that's where you went. You went to the astral plane and you drew back some energy. So we need to be cognizant of what we're bringing back to the earth plane and stop complaining about what we have brought back, because we're the ones bringing them back. All right? So the Ark of the Covenant that you read about in all of different religions, whichever one you may have in the past subscribed to, that Ark is the perfect Ark created by every woman when she's pregnant. That's the covenant, to bring the souls in. That's the true covenant. So it doesn't matter how tall or short or fat or skinny the sister is. When she is pregnant, she creates a perfect Ark. True Ark of the Covenant is held by we sisters. We have a responsibility. And we must come up to that. We cannot sit back, not be responsible, and then complain. We can't do it. So now let's take a look. Some people, I'm sure, have dealt with astrology, and I'm sure you've probably dealt with it in an entertainment purposes only. And believe me, that is not the case. If you have and you've looked at some glyphs, glyphs are symbols of different energies. The energies, again, being the planets and or signs. The glyph represents that energy. For instance, let me just do this real fast. I want to erase this. This is the first sign, Aries. And as far as the body is concerned, that's the face. What's the face or the head area? What's the first thing that is created in the womb is the head area. And then so you would have Taurus, which would be this. Looks like a little half circle or on the top. That's really the throat area that supports the head. So it has a correlation that works. That is science. Science is exact. Astrology is an exacting science. And once you did your chart, you would have gone to a counselor. You would need to do any of that because you would find out who you are and you would be able to be yourself, know why you're here. So these are symbols that mean something. So the symbol that no one ever deals with is what's the symbol for the earth? They deal with the symbols for the other planets. What about the earth symbol? The glyph for the earth. Does anybody know what that is? All right. Well, has anybody ever heard of the master seal?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the glyph for the earth. Now, if you notice, we have it here, and it's divided in 4 parts, which represents the 4 seasons on the earth plane. 90-degree angles. The 3 within it are the 3 signs that make up, starting in the spring, the first 3 months would be Aries, Taurus, Gemini. And that's a season. So each part of those represent a season. That's where you have the 3 there. Now, if you would imagine in your mind, this right here on a 3-dimensional, if you could step aside a little bit, if you could pull this up 3-dimensionally, like so, it's a pyramid, which is a symbol of civilization. All right? Now, let's relate it to something that you deal with in the temples all of the time. If you want to break the seals, first of all, these are going to be the cardinal points. Before we do that, these are the cardinal points to start a season. And in the Catholic religion, they call their people cardinals. So we're going to break them. Spring, summer. Oh, you went there, fall and winter. So astrology's been right in front of you all the time when you're Circle 7, your Holy Quran.
Yeah, it's before.
And how it comes out to a 7 is that you have 4 seasons of 3, which is a 7. You have 7 ruling planets, although there are 10 inside this solar system. And for those who know something about going outside of the solar system, well, you got to know the principles in this one first before you can travel anywhere. So that's what astrology teaches you, the principles. That's why you're here on this physical plane, this earth plane, which they say is the lowest level. Well, you're here to learn your lessons.
Here. Your watch.
Yes.
The watch that you have on is your fixed cardinal points. The watch that you have on, time. And time never was when man was not. It's called your cardinal points, or your 4 gates. North, south, east, and west. And they're called North Gate, South Gate, East Gate, West Gate. Your 3 threes are your 3 deacons, or deaconettes. That's where they get the name deacon in the church, but don't tell you its origin, because those sorcerers want to enslave you. And when they say the master seal, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. And these are your mansions. And
they turn out to be 12 disciples. Disciples come from the number 12. And the 13th one, being what you would call the Messiah, is really not a man. It's the womb of woman. And humanity is written on her womb, because she brings us in any one of these gates. And that is the house of the Lord. And when the house of the Lord comes into being, says, Allah, holy breath. Therefore, you must know what you bring here, because you're creators and makers of your own condition. Think. The angels, or angels, were administering to Mary and Joseph, teaching and administering to them for the sons of light that they must bring to the plane of earth. They were cousins. But the women knew the applied science of the number 9, which is 3 of these gates, wherever she begins, going counterclockwise. 3 of these gates, that's 3 days in that tomb. And when that light comes out that tomb, that Son of God is prepared for whatever deed they must do on the plane made manifest. And you're the best teacher. And that is the universal school, the first school. And so you must be cognizant of that ancient science of self. You can't know yourself if you don't know math. The ancient Moabites are the founders of those mathematical angles. Learn of your ancient mothers and fathers' divine creed. Divine means law of nature. It's not being bad, good, or anything. It is knowing the law, how things work. Now, what you do with it, that's up to you. However, don't get upset because you blew it. But you should have known better. You certainly don't mix water with butter, do you? Or oil? Because they will separate, won't they? But both of them are good on their own right, am I correct? So evil only exists for the admixture of elements in a wanton manner. For all things are good. And if they come with their admixture of evil, you have the science by which to cast that evil off from that good. Once that is done, that evil is not even evil. It's just a matter of concept. It's positive and negative forces. And since you are God's, it's time for you to start acting like it. Not believing it, but knowing it. And if I go to Tiani, they know this science too. All the Asiatics of the planet know this science. When you gave it up and started adopting the idol gods, you fell. Then you started using that womb just according to your feelings and gratifying your lower self, and was bringing all kinds of spirits here. Now you're pissed and you're running from Frankenstein. And won't take responsibility for what you made. But you still have that same power. Reverse it. But you got to go back to those principles of your ancient mothers and fathers to solve it. If you don't worry about it because you already blew it. It's up to us. Astrologic is going back to that triune principle that can also be called the 3 kings. And so the triune principle understands that Star of Bethlehem. And understand that we stand within it. And I'm a man, but I'm actually the son of man. So a woman's man. Who's confused about that? Right? Can you stand? First man?
Oh, yes.
Legs, right? Arms, right? And head, right? Put your hands out. What good are these hands except to the service of others? Spread them out. Arm, right? So let's go in a circle. Either way. Arm, for these are used to express and to manifest that which is in the head. And the legs take you and move you from a static position to wherever you want to do your deeds. So things don't come to man, man goes to things. That action, animated, is called free will. Whatsoever you will, so it be. Be determined by what's coming out of that thalamus, that seat of David, which is the pineal gland. And it has a nerve that looks just like a snake that you saw on the crown of the ancient Mizraim sons and queens. And that ain't Egypt. That's modern. They're Moabites. That's really that nerve that comes from the thalamus off the pineal, that dark center of the brain, and that nerve comes right here to the crown of the nose right here, which is also a pyramid. That is called the sixth sense. When activated, it is called the third eye. True. Arm, leg, arm, head. Allah forward and Allah backwards. Allah and man are one.
Islam.
When you understand that and activate it, you will change conditions. But the most powerful being on the planet is woman, who, because she adopted the idol god systems, don't know her power. But it doesn't remove the power. She gave it up because she'd rather worship sons that she produced. They got a belly button. What's she doing worshiping the sun? Men don't produce belly buttons. We just inherit them. You understand? Well, we understand. You are the creators and makers of your own condition. As you think, so be it. I am that I am, and what I produce is what I am. And you are your forefathers without doubt or contradiction. There ain't no new spirits here. It might be a couple, no new spirits. We just got new bodies. Just like them trees come back, so do you. So let's get real. If you desire to solve this nigger problem, which is all of our problems, that is now plaguing the earth, creating all these earthquakes, these storms, that's going to destroy everything that you thought you built, that you think that's going to make you happy, materialistic, because the earth is sick of us with this crap that we keep on claiming that we love God and love each other. We're full of BS, and people need to tell us to our face. And if you want to find somebody that wants to hurt you, if you want to find somebody that wants to cause you injury, if you want to find somebody that wants to hate you, all you need to do is look around and find a believer.
Oh my goodness.
No, now that's the uncomfortable truth that nobody really wants to talk about, because we all been hypocrites. They always believe, and then you ain't gonna give me $5, huh? Well, Reverend Jones Zioski, I hope your children go play on 295 at lunchtime. You're gonna go to hell and burn up. Allah ain't gonna bless you. Yahweh hates anybody that don't give Reverend Jones $5. Well, guess what? All of you are gods. The reason they murdered the Nazarene, because the Nazarene blew everybody's stuff out the water. He says, oh, come on, y'all, stop acting like you don't know what's up. What I am, all men can and will be. So you can come off your games and stop acting like you don't know the laws of your forefathers that y'all abandoned and start following after the gods of Europe, them Romans, and got lost. I didn't come of my own will. My father sent me, who also has a mother. And don't get caught up with me. Just listen to the word and carry it out, and you'll fix this thing. Because I ain't saving nothing. You're going to save yourself.
That's right.
Whoever will, let them come. Whoever hears, let them hear. And whatever you will is what you got. So don't blame nobody else. Don't blame that devil and none of your imaginations of these creatures that you created. Because none of them have any power whatsoever except what you give it. They cannot claim any jurisdiction that you don't give up. So you better understand what contracts are, because you don't make no covenants with him.
All right.
Or her.
Demonstrate more.
Now that's the real truth, and that's religion broken down to elementary of what it really is. But we give the powers personalities for the children. And so the three wise men, understanding the triune principle, look and they calculate the angles of the star of man. And determine by the womb of woman the time of birth. And the manger is really not some field thing. What is the sign of the manger?
Actually, it's solar plexus.
But the sign, the house.
Oh, well, be the zodiac. The zodiac.
What is the house?
Woman.
No, the woman. It's the woman.
All right.
You talking about Glenn.
Now, father comes from pater,
Right.
which is Moorish Latin, which comes from paternity, which comes from what? Meiosis? The dropping of the seed, the generation of that seed, Genesis,
Right.
and the cultivation of that seed to life.
Or genes of Isis.
And that is the clay. Now, the molding of the clay is the state of the mind of the woman who is in the process of molding the clay. The brothers don't have to get upset because all we do is fertilize. Like that. Oops. Right? But they do all the work. 9 months. Ain't that the truth? So how she thinking and how we treat her while she's going through that process has effect on how that clay hardens. On top of the fact of what gate she brings in. Now, if she's conscious of herself, she's going to teach that child in the womb. And when that child comes out, if it's a male child or a reflection of herself, see, because women don't have boys and girls. That's a fiction. Women reproduce themselves. And when they feel like it, they do a miracle and then mutate that female and make us.
Go ahead.
That's the miracle of the Son of God. And that's the only uniqueness about us as males. Don't make us superior. We're actually mutated eggs of females. That's why the mammary glands are dormant. So you got to get real. This is anatomia or anatomy. And so if you don't know yourself, you're going to have opinions of yourself that you really don't understand and have a wrong concept of life and a disrespect for life. In doing that, nature starts kicking your keisters. Because she don't play with our belief systems or recognize person or station. When you violate those laws, there is a response called cause and effect, or Kri. And from the ancient Sanskrit Kri comes the name or word karma. What you do and what you don't do manifest in what you got. So that's creators, makers of their own. So if you have a concept that the creation is outside of yourself, as corrupted religions, or no, they're not religions, pseudo-religions, have taught the people, you lose control of self. Give it up. Then the sorcerers start sucking on you. And then you start talking about them suckers you know, oh, I was doing some good stuff. And then the devil came and started messing. No, your head is wrong. Your concepts are wrong. Because you are capable of bringing yourself out of any condition. But due to the fact that we're tied together, because we've allowed the Romans to perpetrate the fraud concepts of the truth of math and true ancient religion, which is cosmology. It is a knowledge of the universe, and it is the paternity of the universe. Translated, Father of the universe. Learn how to use it, not believe it. That's for babies. It's not kindergarten class right now. So we're going to put those things aside. We don't throw them away. We save them for the babies. But we're men and women now, and you must be the scientists that your ancient fathers were so that you can solve the problems and govern this planet. You've been made Lord of the planet. You're responsible for this thing. So don't be looking in those shadows. Yeah, the devil took my sandwiches. He didn't took nothing. Gave it up. You're the one that sold your birthright for that red bowl of pottage. But you're the one going to have to reclaim it. And you will not reclaim it with ignorance. Because the people are not destroyed because they ain't prayed enough. You know, I just prayed and one of these days and I'm just going to keep hope alive. And no. And you're not being hurt because you don't have faith. You're being hurt because you never arrived to fruition. What is fruition? It is gnosis, knowledge. Because you have not reached the osis of the gnosis, you're being destroyed. And you brought it on yourself. We like to blame other people, but it's the life we have lived that brought this about. But it's also the life that we live with knowledge that can take us out of this crap. That's the science. If you want to know, if you want to say you know yourself, we can all say that. We always say, you know, man, know thyself. All you need to do is ask him and ask him for the math. You know, don't talk to me, give me the math. And I'm going to walk with it because I got to hurry up and catch the plane. And I should be able to take that math, calculate, and call you and tell you what's up. And if I can't, you don't know yourself. Are you following me? So what we're getting out of, we're not disrespecting belief. We're putting it where it belongs, in grade school. In grade school, there's belief, then there's faith, then there's fruition. Belief are for children. It's not wrong. Faith is when that belief has been solidified and substance has been given to it where it has meaning that they start to examine and mathematically use their five senses for it to internalize. Fruition is when that knowledge that they acquire from using those five senses, which are all seeing, which is what that eye represents, then they're at the stage of fruition, ready to graduate, and now they're ready for the universe, i.e. the world. That's education. And anything else is a fraud. That's what's wrong with us. And then when someone brings knowledge, we get spooked up and scared and run. Right into the same problems that we keep saying we solve them because we believers, that they never solve. It's because you've got grown people that are little boys and girls. Don't want to admit it. Transacting business in the same Romans' names that lynched all the prophets and wondering what's wrong. Well, the people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Go back to those principles of your ancient mothers and fathers. This equilateral, triangle, or triune principle, 120 degrees. 120 degrees, 120 degrees is still which is still
One.
now line man is one. And in geometry, That circle is called Alpha and Omega. So now we're going to science. You don't need to believe that. You need to apply the science, and you don't need to believe now you know. Now somebody can't come and get your lunch money. All right? And get your sandwiches. You know what I mean? And they don't go take you, to get saved by Chuck E. Cheese with the collar reversed and stuff. All right? All right. Just want to throw that in there.
And the last demonstration, we're going to close it out. I see that you have a question. Could you hold that? We're going to demonstrate one more thing, and we'll answer the question. Yeah, if you could. So, you've been told that this triune or Trinity is the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. That's what you've been said. It's not the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It's the Mother, the Father, and Child. It is you, is each and every one of you. You are the Trinity. That's why religions cannot find it. It's what they say. They're still searching for what that Trinity is.
Already in front of us.
So if you are that triune, you are 1-360 now, and this is the last demonstration we want to show with the symbols. Once you have two triunes, two trinities, two people that come together, they create this symbol. And that's an abstract of that. Which is the Masonic orders. They're teaching the secrets of the mother and the son. That's all there is. It's Ma and son. Mason. And also in adept chambers. You learn a little bit more about that. Ma and son. That's all there is. Now the other symbol, Taj, that they may have seen, we gave you the correct. We're going to show you what you see where someone else has claimed this. And that's the hex alpha. These are two trinities coming together. Male and female principles. People call that what? Star of David, Jewish star, everything but what it is.
As above, so below.
As above, so below is correct. That represents the male and female principles coming together and
in balance.
In balance. This is in balance. Now, if sisters, we came together with the male principle that's out of balance, right? We could draw something that's out of balance as an example, then we need not wonder what would come out of that union. It's certainly not going to be something in balance. This is why it's important, and this is what this represents, is the perfect union of the male and female. In harmony. And if you took this in astrology, which we won't go through that now, but you need to learn Astrologic, and put it on the wheel, and looked at these points, it will come up with astrological signs that are, in fact, in harmony. As we need to be when we choose our mates and we conceive our children, so that we will not have the trinity of a child and of yourself is your sun, your moon, and your ascendant or rising being the same thing. What was on the horizon when you were born, which indicates what your physical appearance is. However, the moon is your soul. That is the real you. The sun is what your father grew you to be, which is the characteristics that you will play out. Your moon sign, which the moon are the seeds of the cosmic mother. So that the inside sign or moon sign is the real you. That's your soul. Now, if you should have conflicting elements with your trinity, your moon being, let's say, fire, but your rising and your sun being earth, which will put out your own fire, you get it in your own way. We never had children. We never conceived children that would have that situation. We knew what the planetary movements were. We know where the moon is. We know where the planets are. And we didn't do that. And that's what family planning really was. Now, they presented it to you as if parents chose the mates for their children. That's not it. That's not what was happening. We were using the science. Okay, that's the cycle. 13
That's why
cycle.
women cycle 13 times a year.
Right. A lot of women don't even recognize that. Let me say this before you. A lot of women don't recognize because they don't know themselves. But when they really think about it, they'll acknowledge that, I came on my period twice this month. Right? All your life you've done that because you actually do have 13 cycles, as with the moon.
In harmony with the moon going around the earth. And then the earth going around the sun. And the moon goes around the earth in how many days?
28 days.
I think it's 52 minutes. And that's about that amount of time that the moon revolves around the earth, she will drop a seed. But the earth revolves around the sun on 12. Right? 13 and 12 is what? 2 and 5 is what? You must understand the science of these circles or these spheres because you affect the atmosphere based on how you use the knowledge of that 7. That's universal science. And so you learn the principles of your ancient mothers and fathers so you can sit around and calculate your family, you calculate business, you calculate how you're going to business, you calculate when you're going to travel, when you're not, because it's not you, it's what the heavens say. That's why the wise men looked into the heaven, checked the stars to see what's up. Tell you what's happening and where. That's not because they were super duper guys. They were just doing watching nature. That's all. We just gave it up, got spooked up, start making plaster figures and painting and start worshiping them. So how come something you make be greater than you? You're confused.
And we can add to that too, the spooked up part, which keeps people away from this because they think it's something satanic,
Only because the Romans told them that.
Only because they chose. So, like, if I were to stand here and say to anyone who gave me the astrological signs of their household, I could tell them exactly what's going on in their household, and they think that, oh, well, that's great. You psychic? No, I know the elements, and you too need to know the same. So it's not that it's anything special. It's just that you need to learn them. You need to apply it. And with that, I thank you, and we do have, we will be sending up classes. We're going to, because astrology, as you can see, is fundamental, and you need to learn step by step, and someone will learn and teach in classes here, I'm sure. We'll be sending up recording videos on, wait, we have questions, hold on. Videos on step by step that we'll make available here so that everybody can get the fundamentals, because we're talking about foundational stuff here. Civilizations. There was a question. Elementary. There's a question.
School.
Yeah, elementary school. Oh, great. Thank you. There's a question in the back. Can't hear you.
What around the earth? You did the hours. You did the moon. What around the earth? You did the hours.
Schooling.
When the Constitution was written, it went off a sidereal calendar.
Sidereal time.
And it was 25 hours in a day.
Sidereal.
And they changed it according to the matrix and made it federal.
Yes, because they're dealing with energies. Because they already know as you project. You know, how do you say? It's sort of like when you do something out of time and you recognize it's done out of time, and you know that in order for it to live, that you must not be out of harmony with nature, and you make an adjustment so that it projects to the minds of the people and they adjust themselves and we get back in harmony and they take the power. Of course, that's what a sorcerer would do. But, you know, if they're working on a low line. And I understand exactly, because that's exactly what they did, too, in Philadelphia, 6 and Chestnut.
First, I wanted to bring this to attention when you made a statement about woman being the supreme God, and we want to make this clear to everybody's mind. We did not come through woman.
We came through ourselves. You understand? Because we're all women in the context in which you're speaking of scientifically. So we have a wound within ourselves.
Yes,
you understand? I'm a woman.
we understand
like
that.
she is, so you understand? The prophet says, who's the name of the first physical man? Not woman.
Because man is.
Because a woman is man.
Demonstration that you was demonstrating. The prophet says that, you understand, how many hours, how many days are in the cycle? 7 days.
7 days.
So when we, you understand, when we're dealing with astrology, we have to explain to these people that we're not dealing with astrology from the Gregorian point of view. You understand? Because they're not dealing with, you understand, the vernal equinox and none of that.
Yes.
And at the same time, when you take, you understand, 3 hours and 43 minutes, and you put it, you understand, 7 times 3 hours and 43 minutes gonna bring you 24 hours and 1 minute. You understand? And numerology is still bringing you back to 7.
Got that right.
So we have to really straighten out the minds of these people, you understand, before we just give them some of the same stuff, because we're doing the same thing that they did us. We telling them. A man knows not by being told. The last thing that we understand we want to say about is that the whole demonstration was centered around who controls the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I don't see how we done got into all these different discussions and we have never even touched the subject matter.
We're not finished. We're
Yes, we
ready to
have.
close out, actually.
Yes, we have. You know how we have? I'm going to tell you exactly how we have. Because you didn't expect to hear it. That's number one. And most people wouldn't have told you that. Because they want to play games with you. Because they're playing power games. Who's the boss? But when we tell you the science that they are using, it frees you. Because you're running the Moorish movement. Because Noble Ali said, come all ye Asiatics of North America and hear the truth about your nationality and your birthrights. You're not Negroes, you're not black people, you're not colored people or Ethiopians. Learn to love instead of hate. Learn of your ancient mothers and fathers. Divine creed. I just gave it to you mathematically. Nothing can be taught in 1 minute. But I know them demons weren't going to tell you because they want you to honor them. Do you understand? Well, all of you are gods, and I told you and I showed you why. Do you understand? And I gave you what you need so you can go get the rest of it for yourself. Because the half had not been told. If he told you everything, you go back to sleep. So I got to give you a taste of it. You know and I know it ain't no way they're going to give you no complete lesson in no lecture. It don't happen like that. It never did, and it ain't gonna. However, I'll say this to you. Just give you enough to give some things that make sense to you mathematically, because I don't want you to believe anything that we said. I just gave you enough to recognize that you can go cross-check it, and let's talk about Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Venus.
Guess what?
Saturday.
Monday is the moon.
Tuesday's Martez.
Sunday is the sun.
That's right.
Saturday is Saturn.
That's right.
I ain't confused and don't want you confused yourself either. So nobody needs to game you. That's all we're getting across. We're not trying to give you exact anything. We're trying to get you rolling out of a stagnant state, out of a believer state, past the faith, not to dump them, but to respect it for what it is and become masterminds. And we don't tell you what we know. We don't want you to follow nobody. We want you to follow what your soul dictates to you. But you got to know how to connect to that soul. You got to know how to activate that pineal gland and that pituitary gland, which has gone stagnant because you've been preoccupied with idol God worship and didn't know it. And let me tell you that the Nazarene wasn't no Christian, the Nazarene was a Jew. And there ain't no J in Hebrew, so it's above that. You understand? And Jesus, or Yeshua, is his name. Yeshua ben Yosef. That's what Mary named him. And that's what he did his work in. But these thieves and these robbers and these opportunists and those evil rabbis altered the documents. And he was a master mason too. Mother's son. Let me tell you this. They murdered him because what the Nazarene represents is the death of institutions that's been lying to you. The institutions that's been taking your lunch money, stealing the widow's pennies, got you begging in the houses of God, and they told you what the real house is. But I'll tell you this. You go and watch all the architecture of all these houses. And when you notice them red doors, that's the blood of woman cycling. Huh? When you see them two pillars at the door, Boaz and Yakin, that's her legs.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And when you walk down that aisle, and you see them pews on that side, them pews on that side, they eggs for her children. On both sides, the ovaries. Thank you very much, too.
And when they dip them in the
And that preach talking about,
Bless his child, send no more.
that's the water breaking. Now I say this, Mom. Be free and free me, your son. And I ain't going to play no games of mystery with you because it ain't no mystery about it. And that's what the Moorish Science Temple is for. It is time to stop the mystery and free the people. Tell them the truth. And like the Nazarene said, don't you remember the laws that Allah gave Moses on Mount Herod? How come you acting like you don't know the truth? How come you acting like we teaching something different? Except that you then fooled yourself with your bull and BS, and nobody had the nerve to tell you to your face that you got boogies in your nose. You're calling it religion. It's nothing personal, but get right. Turn your hearts back to your mothers and fathers, lest the earth be smitten with a curse. So don't tell me about these conditions. Get back to science. Don't be upset because I told you don't be a believer. I'm saying let your babies be the believers. You be scientists. Grow up and put the crayons away. Nothing personal. I mean, I can color once in a while myself. However, let's get real. And we respect and appreciate the knowledge come from everybody. But understand this. And this is the way it is. I'm a soldier. I'll tell you like it is. I have no intentions for my babies or my grandbabies to become nobody's nigger slave no more. And I know, like the prophet said, you better be careful because some of your own brothers and sisters are going to try to put you back in slavery. We came here to Chicago, to Mecca, for the purpose of doing some freedom in this great movement of uplifting fallen humanity. We don't want you to say, oh man, they said that really nice. No, we're not important. The movement is important. For you to be better tomorrow than you were today is important. For you to walk before them Romans when they start stealing your birthright and stand up on your square and start protecting yourself and your babies. For you sisters to be able to go get your men out of jail that these Romans are stealing in order to attack you. To see you have no security, then we mad at each other. Don't recognize the third-party demon.
Go ahead. Third party and the demon.
Then you have your own telling you, don't talk to them like that. Yeah, because they slipping them a couple dollars in the back.
Watch out.
Agents.
Pay off.
Demonstrate, Sheik.
Roman means the pale-skinned nations of Europe collectively. It is not the city in Italy. It is the pale-skinned nations of Europe collectively. But it does not mean every European is your enemy. Don't mistake that. It just means the principle upon which that order operates has a determination to overthrow all Asiatic African culture in order to enslave you. Because the nature of you being the birthright owner, they owned nothing. So they had to steal. And so that's why they burned the books. So you wouldn't know these things. That's why they lynched the prophets and been lynching you ever since. Now that's the real truth. And we ain't mad at them because we brought it on ourselves. We're turning our hearts from our mothers and fathers. But some of them are helping to fix this thing. Don't think that every European ain't trying to help do this. They're trying to help fix this thing. But we all spooked up. That's what's wrong with us. Don't hate anybody. Learn to love. But the greatest power, the greatest weapon you have is that womb. Because humanity is written on it. Learn how to use it. Don't always worry about feeling good. Learn how to do good. All right? Not personal. So we just telling you like it is. That's all. Come on, family.
This is a quest, a balance on our spiritual journey.
Yes, I can get what you mean.
So it is a quest for balance.
Yes, that's what it is.
On our spiritual journey.
That's what it is. And then look at this. And I'm saying this honestly and sincerely. If those who know have been telling them all the time, we wouldn't have to make this thing dramatic. It would be normalized. Is it accidental that these people of Moorish descent, particularly on the planet, are targeted for certain abuses? And if we knew God so much, how come we keep catching hell? If we so correct. We pray more than anybody else. We got more houses that we keep claiming are the houses of Allah, the house of Yahweh, the house of the Lord, the house of Jesus. And the next one is the house of hell, and we've been catching all of them. And everybody else living off this dead carcass. Well, get up off the ground, Lazarus. That's who it is, and our lazy keisters. And we need to get real and understand that things are done with knowledge. They're not done with hopes. But hope is great because it inspires, it gives you a purpose and aspiration. But understand this. We know just snowed in the city the other day. We got a little bit of blowing around this morning. Not much, but understand if the windows are out here, ain't nobody going to be sitting in here like this comfortable. And that wind come off them lakes and blow through these windows. And so you call somebody, we're going to put some coins together and hire somebody to fix these windows. And they come in, you say, "Here the man." And he come in, he put his feet up here talking about keep hope alive, just believe in everything. Next week, the wind's still blowing through here. Right. You paying him. And you say, one of these days, you know, and it's the promise, and then next year, they still, your babies don't grow up, they have babies, they still freezing, but people cross the street, they all comfortable. Meanwhile, excuse me, I got to go pay some taxes over here to this man over here, and he's a foreigner. And you ain't figured this game out yet? Let me tell you, math works. Belief doesn't. The root word of belief is lie. Don't make it wrong, it means you should understand etymology. But if you study word language and spelling and casting spells, you wouldn't have fell for this crap. So I'm not against anybody's religion. Don't misunderstand me. Our fathers were the founders of religion. But we are teaching religion and not pseudo-religion. Because true religion frees people. Pseudo-religion keeps you in slavery from a child to a grown-up, and you still got to go back to the preacher, the rabbi, the imam, and ask me, you know, I went in my cabinet and my babies was hungry, and the sandwiches had mold on them. And I want you to pray and see if we can get this thing together. Oh, you should have told you to put it in the refrigerator first time. I mean, it's really that simple. You don't need no leader. You don't need no leader. If we pay attention to the prophets, if we really pay attention to the prophets, instead of what people keep telling us about the prophets, we've been free a long time ago. Know you the truth, and the truth will set you free. You ain't been free, so don't tell me you knew the truth. Nothing personal. That's why we're here, trying to get free. But I challenge you to challenge everything and anything that I say and prove it wrong. Don't say you don't accept it, you don't believe it, you know, I don't use anything exact. Prove it wrong. Islam family.
And for man to understand...
Stand up, brother.
For man to understand his true self, while we being in the state of Illinois, it defines an animal. which is in the compiled states and the statutes of the state of Illinois, an animal is defined as every living thing except man. Now, in our modern day understanding of man and the X chromosome, XY chromosome being Y being man, how can we further investigate that Y chromosome, seeing our understanding from man, not trying to throw an imbalance to the topic here, and understanding the man's essence and his nature being, without being able to exert that Y chromosome, which they claim in our modern day sciences creates a male child.
Let's look at it like it really is. The one as a whole. You ever seen the yin and the yang? Huh? Or we sitting here with light, right? All right. Everything that is, everything has electricity in it. Science withdraws it, learns how to deal with it. You never totally encompass it, and you can't see it. But we know we need that black and that white line that conduct it to give light. And one does not prove itself lest it has the other. So technically there's no good and there's no evil. Technically there's no male and female. The truth of gender is only an accent of the one pole, of the north and south, of that birth canal. The whole deal is the concept of gender is totally wrong. You know what it is. Because it's the game of pitting men and women together for the masters, evil masters, to rule. To separate you mentally when there is no separation. Because the one is a whole. And that's the point. And once you understand the science, we're not worried about that little leg. Please. Come on. You know, we gotta get real. You understand, you can't understand yourself if we look at mother as a separate being that brings everything here. Don't that make sense to you? Huh? Huh? So there's no women problem and men's problem. The problem is with humanity. And since we don't never give anything, we don't give birth to nothing. You know I don't meet, hey, not really. So the deal is when we look at it from those perspectives, that's because we're caught in that game of divisionisms. That is designed to pit us against each other and not understand each other and become helpmates to one another. For we're two halves of a whole. We are one. The problem of the oneness is that we've just been mixing any old kind of, we walking down the street. Oh, whoa, it's crawling. I'm going one with that. And then you go one with that. Oh man, this stuff is ugly. That child, ooh. Beautiful in the body, ugly in the spirit. Because you keep mating with everything that crawls. Oh, that's wrong. And that's what's wrong. Don't you understand? It's the gratification of the lower self. But a scientist doesn't debase the self to that. Sisters ain't going nowhere. You ain't either. So be considerate who you take in your bed. It's that simple. That's science. That's really all this, and that's all you really need to understand. And once we, guess what? Happiness will be in your dad's house because you won't have aberrations in the house. So what's happening, we got all these beautiful bodies and horrible characters. Because we keep mixing the wrong elements. But we do it out of ignorance because we gave up the science and took on idol God worship and don't want to admit it. I mean, that's it. It is. It's alchemy. It's alchemy. So the deal is women go through cycles even when they're carrying. So you want to do some good? As sister, you know, getting like that and this something. Sister, you know what I mean? No, you say, sister, what you need. Comfort her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Keep evil spirits from around her while she's building. Because she's the master builder. Without the sound of a hammer or the rasping of a saw. You don't hear that nail being driven, but she's building. A most perfect being. Then you know the gates that she's been in. She may be in any one of these gates that her mother bore her in. So you know the body salts that she's missing in the 3 houses that she was not. Because you know she was in the tomb for 3 days. So you make sure you give her the fruits and the vegetables that have them salts that she will long for. And not necessarily in a body that don't mate with her. You make sure she's fine. Then she can focus on what she knows according to her moon and the movement of what she got to build. Now she said, well, now let me look. The sister over here, she got them tight earrings on, but we need to build some stuff like this. And, oh, nation needs this. So she checks her clock, and she brings in what's needed. Because you already know the Spirit's going to hoover around her, because they choose the mother. And so if her mind is right, she's going to bring a good spirit in. Then when they come here already educated and start working. When they're children, you almost have to slow them down. Because they're trying to start off where they left off. Some of them are your own ancient mothers and fathers. You need to understand that. And it ain't spooky either. All you need to do is look in their eyes. If you really know what you're looking at. And then you won't get scared when they come out smart or wise. And this, stuff. Well, some of them tell you stuff. Some tell you, hey, get my thing. You said, what you talking about? That was my grandmother's stuff.
That happens for real.
Because that's your grandma. So that's what I have to say about that. But it doesn't dispel what you're saying. We have to be careful not to get into the emotionalism that's played to divide men and women in order for those who are the third-party demons, you understand, to capitalize on the social problems that they create because we're stupid enough to feed into that crap. Taking too long.
Yeah.
Peace.
So what we want to do, he addressed that and answered the questions. Yes, woman is man, and you are son of man, and those who we have the womb. So therefore, everything comes in through the womb. If you have a womb, then you will bring that through. We want to close out with chapter 23. Did you have one question? Oh. Yes.
I just wanted to say, the brother was talking a while back.
Yes.
And you mentioned about the wives, the Moors, and all the people that such bad things. Because they prayed, hard, this, that, and the other. Because of your plan. Let's say, for instance, you got a blue car outside, a blue Chevy. You will see all the blue Chevy when you drive it. Okay? Every time you turn around, you will see a blue Chevy just like yours. Okay? And it's your plan. When you plan, that's what you get in your life. So if you don't plan, you fail to plan.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's right.
Excellent. Islam.
So that's the whole thing right there. Your plans must be brought back to you. And when they brought back to you, I ain't got no money. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Because your plan is your fault.
Go ahead, Bobby.
See, you can't plant peaches and
Expect to get corn.
oysters come up.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
That's your problem. The problem is your plan. And you're not planning but to do nothing but to fail.
That's right.
That's all you planning to do.
Exactly.
Right.
So we need to plant our seeds and let the sun and the moon do its job, and that falls right in place to the chapter 23 of the Circle 7. I think just one more. I know you had a question, and then we're going to close out. You can save them for at the end. Yeah.
I seem to notice that I live in Harvey, and it seems that all during the major streets of Harvey, all the billboards have negative images. Like PlayStation just dropped this new game called Warriors. You know that old movie that came out with the gangs. And then when Tupac had this movie, even after he died, called Gangs, even after he died and the show came out of the theater, the billboard was still up in the neighborhood on 63rd for about a year and a half. And I guess, as I'm riding down the highway, I noticed clear me on this, that they know our influences from what we see, so they put a lot of negative images.
Absolutely.
Alcohol,
Absolutely.
billboards, gym shoes. They highly value the thug image in rap music when it first started out as a knowledge-based music. And the tempo was different. So, could you explain what level a consciousness are they working with when they putting these images in front of us, especially since they know the youth gravitate to the first things they see, you know.
But that's why they get them while they're
That's
young.
why they're getting them while they're young, which is what.
They call that science.
Yes,
But
socialization.
exactly. But still, these are our children, and mothers, sisters. We are the head of the household with these children, so we need to learn to give them instructions so that they don't fall into that. The children are left now without instruction because the parents, the mothers, didn't have this information. And then we sit and we talk about our children as if there's these foreign, strange people that are aside and apart from us. What's wrong with the children? What's wrong with the children is what's wrong with the parents, both the mothers and the fathers. That's what's wrong with the children, and that's why the responsibility must be taken by us. We cannot let this happen and give away our babies and act as if we don't know who they are. Islam. No, you're all right. Your question is answered. Yes. Last question, and then we can close out.
Give brother Mike for a minute.
Yes. All right.
Statement I just made to the Grand Sheik was that if we were in control of our nation, they wouldn't be able to put that stuff up anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One last.
I just wanted to piggyback on what the brother said.
All right. No, we don't want to piggyback. We don't do pigs here. We don't do pigs.
I stand correct.
Don't curse us with that.
It's a known fact when you deal with the other communities. In Detroit, I know several different communities. They control every billboard that's posted in their community. Our community are the only community that allows anything to come in, be posted, be done. Our magazines, everything. They all contain subliminal science.
Yes.
Because they're trying to send our children, and his brother's exactly right. I was in a video store a couple of weeks ago talking to these young brothers. I said, these movies were produced for you as born. What do you know about this movie? He's got the game Warriors. These movies are out, and this subliminal socialization is taking place because they know who our warriors are. Our warriors are our babies.
Oh, absolutely.
We beyond the battlefield now, and they know who's coming up the road, so they already got the campgrounds set up to fill them up with our babies.
They've analyzed it all already.
The houses, they canceled before.
And they also know that we are not training up our children in the way in which they should go.
Bible was right. We don't play.
We're not.
We allow the
Yeah.
I just wanted to submit. If you notice, for all the Chicagoans, he's saying in Detroit, how it is in Detroit, most of the billboards are controlled by 3 different companies. Clear Channel being the most prominent. You see that across the board. Just check at the bottom of any billboard. The signature is there. And Clear Channel owns most of them, but it's only 1 of 3.
All right, but 1 of 3 controlling it. Now we need to take control of our nation, which is why we're here. Right, they're doing that because we have dropped the ball on that. And so I say to the parents, to the sisters, chapter 23 out of Circle 7 Quran, Holy Quran. 1, consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced. It is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, and useful or a worthless member to the community. Prepare him early with instruction, and season his mind with the maxims of truth. Watch the bent of his inclination, set him right in his youth, and let no evil habit gain strength with his years. So shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own, let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. Teach him. And this is where we go into the instructions of the astrological signs, which are in here. We're starting with Aries. Teach him obedience. And it's number 8 and 23. Teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, Taurus, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, Gemini, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love, Cancer, the mother. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health, Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. Leo and Virgo, they're the pillars are put together. Teach him justice, Libra, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, Scorpio, and his own heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase, Sagittarius. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Teach him, Capricorn, teach him science, Aquarius, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, Pisces. If you are at the beginning, you are at the end. Pisces is 360 and 0. You start back over again into the cycle. And you are then washed in the waters of Pisces and recycled back into Aries when the new year starts. The new year is in the spring or the vernal equinox. It is not January 1st. That is the fiscal new year. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing at all. So if you do not celebrate the new year when the new year comes with nature, then you are already off the course. And that was purposeful. So he teach him religion for Pisces, and his death shall be happy. And with that, we all shall learn more, put training into and knowledge into our astrologics. Peace and love. Thank you.
Islam? Islam simply means peace. Islam, Moor. Moor simply means Lord of the world. Islam? All praise is due to the Creator. I want to give honor. I have to move quickly because of the time, so I done closed all the books. So I done closed all the books with the exception of one, dealing with the subject matter. I gotta leave it alone. I gotta leave it alone. Yeah, and dealing with the subject matter. I closed all the books because, like the Grand Sheik stated, I travel here from Baltimore territory, Maryland State Republic, we come from Philadelphia, we come from New Jersey, to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligation. And first is our mutual obligation. I want to give honor to the Moors who brought us here and sustained us. Y'all did a very good job. It's the unseen that govern the scene, and I would advocate that we applaud these brothers' efforts and success. As well as the sisters, because I stop and give honor to my wife. You let it go. Let it be. Because the time is gone. You know, the time has expired rapidly because of a lack of decile planning. And that's the reality of the matter, because we have to learn how to disagree without being disagreeable. And I love 100 of you enough not to hold you up because I want to make a point. It's not fair. And this is what we mean when we say it's got to stop. And I'm not pointing a finger at any particular guilty party. I'm saying let us focus on it and let's gird ourselves for the masses. So I want to give honor to my wife for sharing me with the universe, for not demonstrating jealousy, immorality, and accepting that her husband has made a decision to follow his God and his prophet, and not so much as allowing me, but supporting me and encouraging me to move around the world to carry this gospel. Because dealing with that sorcery, you also have a gospel, which is a good spell. And I'm not one to sit around and argue about a lot of documentation. I am the documentation.
All right.
Thank you.
My words, works, and deeds is the proof of my messiahship. Those who follow the footprints of the prophet are successful. Those who go to and fro the earth seeking whom they may devour, they are fools because they always beginning. And so when we deal with the subject matter of who controls the Moorish movement, it should be real simple. Allah controls the Moorish movement. Because Allah is all. And in the prophet's literature, Moors in the prophet literature, it makes it very, very plain And I want to say one other thing before I do this. I'm going to be 7-8 minutes and that's it because of time. We got to get on a plane and go back. And we listen to this tape, and as we examine this video, and this is not to be insulting, I want you to hear how many times we said they. They put the billboard there and burn them down.
Bingo. Bingo.
Pay for them.
Strike a match.
You see what I'm saying? I ain't talking about vengeance and violence burning down. If you don't want that in your community, get it taken out of your community. If they want to keep putting it in there, purchase it. Purchase it. Through so-called arson or by any means necessary, but stop giving they so much power. They only have it because we keep giving it to they. Who is they? And our minds keep saying, Mr. Charlie gonna do it anyway. Then Mr. Charlie will do what he wants in retrospect to you because you give him more power and more credit than he deserves. Now what we must understand real quick, yesterday we were dealing with naturalization, nationalization, and nationality. Don't you know that the European is a Moor also? Now I know some of y'all don't want to hear that, but it is your work as a mastermind to bring them back into their right frame of mind. He's a Moor too. The European are Moor. You can't separate yourself from the human family. We have certain things that they don't, that European don't have. But Allah only made one human family. Allah is one, yet he's more than one. As we study those who do, and something's going to sound strange to everybody, so I don't have time to try to accommodate and maneuver words. The triune breathed forth and 7 spirits appeared in it. And they breathed forth and 7 others appeared in it. And evil is the science of mixing inharmonious tones. And thus we have a challenge presented to us in the flesh, right in our face, called the Albion, aka the European. But we keep referring to them as they. We still want to go to them and say, our house burned down. We sick. We demonstrate the possibilities of man, the probabilities of man, and the essence of man. And until we stop saying they and the government, we're going to be off-centered. We are the government. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. The pen is mightier than the sword. And as you sign that whatever certification, whatever certificate is used in whatever jurisdiction you go to proclaim your nationality, Yankee got to go home. That's exactly why they ain't interfered with Hitler when he came from Austria to Munich in 1913. But I ain't get into that. Don't have time. I'm going to read the prophet words. Who controlled the Moorish movement? I ain't even going to read that because I want to take even less time than that because I don't want to impose on my brother's time. Don't have it because we spent time going back and forth about, different things. I'm not saying nobody guilty of that because if it's 100 of us in here, 89 of us may have needed that. You see? And the other ones, we just have to be patient and tolerant. Allah going to meet us at the level of our needs. And one thing you learn, if you was disagreeing with how things took course, one thing you did learn is that you're more patient than you thought you were. See, out of the worst, the wise find the means to do good, more. But the subject matter, who controls the Moorish movement? You do. Study these literatures, and you'll find that, you got to read something for me. I'm trying, Moors, because I'm trying because I want to hear from my brother. If this was a different day, and it's not, we would stay here as long as we welcome. But we gotta get on a plane. And I've been gone y'all. I've been gone since Friday morning. And if I could wait and take more, we would. But we really have to get on a plane. But I have to read something more because I want you to understand that you are gods. Like Moor said. You control the Moorish movement.
And if the one that think they control the Moorish movement ain't doing what the prophets say do, you remove them.
All right.
No one is above the law. You can't get above it because why? Law is what? Length, angle, and width. How you gonna get above it? How you gonna get around it? It is the angles that come from. So this is not to be offensive by any of those who are sitting in the seat of authority to guide a people, not control. Because anytime you're trying to control something, it's obvious you out of control.
Islam.
Because if I'm spending time trying to control you, that means you got me obsessed, compulsive, and total self-centered, which means I can't focus on me.
Right.
But here's the prophet word. This is in Magistrate and Subject, chapter 39. O thou, this is to the illusionary. See in the 101 it talks about a sultan. And the sultan is Saul. And this is our leader. But how could he lead if he had no followers? How could he lead if he had no workers? What good would he be if he was unto himself? So we placed in the bands of society to receive and confer reciprocal help. And with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our members their nationality, which are our what? Citizens. Because that's citizens and members is the same. So in dealing with who controls the Moorish movement, you do. You do. Let me, I'm a grand sheik, I'm a moderator, and some call me Mac D. I ain't impressed with none of that. But I have jurisdiction over several bodies of Moors throughout different territories. But let me show up, and they don't. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? So how is it that the leader control the movement? Allah speak to man through man. Now if the leader is listening to the messages of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and activating those higher principles in him of law, order, and governmental principles, then the people are going to humble themselves not to the man, but to the principles that the man demonstrate, and they're going to follow those principles that Allah speaks to man through man. But when that man becomes above himself, that means he comes out of himself and he starts having out-of-body experiences. Where he the only one know anything. Where he don't have patience for you no more because he forgot. See, how am I not be patient with you when Lord knows when they shall obey, say, Grand Sheik, you gonna get it. I say, Lord, I ain't gonna never get that stuff. I'm going back to wade in the water, wade in the water, Mars. You say, Moor, that's clip sovereignty. You only gonna know half the truth. And I know I worked on his nerve. And I call him sometime and I talk to Brother Todd, I say, Moor, y'all forgive me in advance. You see, this I owe you. Forgive. Be patient. Now I'm gonna turn around and be arrogant. Oh, you don't know that? You don't know that? I've been teaching you that for 3 months and you don't know that? Why come you don't know that? And I'm obese. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Remember our own imperfections. I'm sitting there talking to you about you shouldn't drink, and I'm taking a smoke. And I still should talk about you shouldn't drink, but I shouldn't smoke. You understand what I'm saying? So when one rises above himself, then he failed to recall from whence he came. You know, from whence he came. So hit the leadership ahead and I close. You, it says somewhere in the record it say the statesman think he had it. The leader think he had it. But he find that it's the subject that possesses it. We came from Philly, Jersey, and Baltimore, is that right? Yes, sir. Now, what if y'all didn't come? What would be the point of the lecture? Come on. See, we got to deal with common sense. We ain't, I'm not the man. It's difficult enough in these days and times and forever striving to be a man. I'm not the man. I'm grateful for that. Drew Ali is the mind that surely those that guided me to a creator. I'm not going to sit here and tell you no lie. Now that I'm full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, I'm not going to try to trick you like I figured something out by myself. I ain't know I wasn't Negro, black, and colored till somebody told me that somebody told them, that somebody told her, that somebody told him that Drew Ali came and brought us this demonstration. I ain't kicking the prophet off the pedestal. I could talk the spots off a leopard. I ain't forgot, Moorish Americans, about the hypocrisy of man. The higher self, the lower self. I ain't forgot, Grand Sheik, when I told them people I stopped eating pork back in the 70s because I wanted to be a good Muslim. And the man I admire caught me running through John Hopkins' cafeteria with a pork chop coming out my mouth. I ain't forgot. So examine thyself and stick to what? The record. And I say again, Moors, I'm not saying it to be mean or evil. You stop wasting time talking about a billboard. You should hear how you sound. I'm not striking out or speaking of the individual. I'm talking about the concept. We are doers. We the lords of the world. We have good leadership. But are we willing to make a sacrifice for the sons of man? A billboard like you ain't never started a fire. You're a revolutionist now. Am I advocating for you to go out and do these type of things? And you all understand what I'm saying. I'm just using that as an analogy. But they still got it in our neighborhoods. What we gonna do? Ask them to move them. They don't want to move them? Burn them down. And you pay for them. Send them a check. How much was that billboard? Y'all hear what I'm saying? I ain't telling you don't compensate. I'm saying, I'm not even telling you to do that, but do something other than keep whining about Mr. Charlie. Mr. Charlie ain't got nothing that you don't give him. Read this and close, Moors. Master, magistrate, and subject. O thou, the favored of heaven, leader, whom thy sons, who the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise thee to sovereign power. The people got the power. And they agreed to raise you to it. To act as a rule and guide over them. Because they acknowledge something within you that is admirable. Not that they need you, because it say thy sons of thy what? Equal. And those who apply the signs know that we know how to meet. We meet on a level, is that right?
Absolutely.
We know how to act on it. We act upon the plumb line. And then when it's time to part, we part on the square. But frustration have us mixing our tools up. Now you're trying to take the bolt off the car. You got a flat and you're frustrated and you forgot about the signs. Now you need to take that nut off the tire and you got a fork in your hand. Crazy man, come back to your senses. We got the tools, we got the applied knowledge. All we have to do more is use it. We got to learn to love instead of hate. We got to address our personal psyche and find out that who control the Moorish movement? We do. Who control this election? You do. You do. You do. Every single one of you are important in the sight of the Creator. Without you, there is no reason for us to be here. But since we are here, we stop by to talk about the gospel, not religion, but the good spell. Because we had to take and relinquish the bad spell. Dealing with clip sovereignty. Dealing with the illusions after being in the movement for 29 years and hearing 4 national Grand Sheiks talking to each other, talking about Islam Grand Sheik, Islam Grand Sheik, Islam National Grand Sheik, Islam National Grand Sheik, Islam National Grand Sheik. That's why people don't want to keep coming sometimes. They ain't that confused. They know if it's one nation, it should be one national Grand Sheik. So I'm going to stop here for the question, take one and pass it on to my brother. Question. Somebody have a question? Islam.
To explain what you was explaining to us about the license plates the other day.
Islam, the brother man asked for explanation of the license plate that Lord Noble Nature L. Bay sit here. So the response, the liability, or the honor will be passed to him. But let me say this real quick about this one. This is one. This works. You have one that works, that's great. Let's stop saying his ain't no good because it don't have the iodine and the cream. Is yours working? You're not paying excise taxes by getting one issued from the state. Be grateful to Allah. Stop saying this one ain't no good because the brother from RahsMariah put this one together and see what he did was the eyes separate. Is it working? Arrogance, man. I close with this. That arrogance, you got to recall that we keep saying prophet Noble Jolly, prophet Noble Jolly. Praise Allah for our American-born prophet. But he told you specifically, these lessons are up for all those who love Jesus. Now, if you want to see the argument about do this work, do that work, then look at the lesson that Jesus brought. When John came to him, they say, Master, we was rebuking that man down the street because he was doing all these wonderful things. And he was casting out demons in your name. And Jesus said, if he was doing that good work, then why did you rebuke him? You don't know everybody that's with you. But you can recognize with your arrogant self, myself included when arrogance is at its meridian height, you can recognize that irregardless to what a man doing or not doing, the principle is the same. The proof of his messiahship is in his words, works, and deeds. How dare you place attack on the good words, works, and deeds, Mr. Arrogant, ill bay?
That's
If it's working and it's taking Negro, black, colored out the people, and they not breaking no law, I ain't talking about no ordinance and regulations, they not breaking no law, let it be. And be content with thyself. Remember thy own imperfection. You ain't the only one that know how to do something. If one of us had the answer, we wouldn't have. If one of us alone had the entire answer for all the sons, the 12 sons of the 12 ages, if one of us had the entire complete answer, whether it be applicable or not for the masses, but one that will subdue everybody, there would be no need for this lecture. There would be no need for it. So Moor, let us regroup and let us replenish in the spirit and let us continue on in the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That one that we don't know about because Allah pierced his heart. That one that's among us that we don't know about that need to hear something. Let us not cut the flow off. Let us let it ebb and flow. So that one, and I say to you as I close, to the one, if you're present, and I trust you are, and you have a question for Lord Noble Nature Ill Bay, you have a question for Grand Chief, remember that we give honor to question, that you are important, that your nickname that they called you and beat you down with forever, you really are somebody. When they took your urine-stained sheets and hung them out the window and shame-based you for wetting the bed because they taught you about this boogeyman and then scared you to death at night, you are somebody. Take your fears and put them aside. This is resurrection time. This is liberty time. If you have a question, your question is important to these brothers up here. And it's important to yourself and it's important to the nation. We give honor to question. There's only one dumb question. That's the one that you keep to yourself and go self-destruct. The one that you refuse to answer because you still feel shame-based by somebody telling you you're going to be just like your father. Your father was a dope fiend and jailbird, and you ain't disappoint nobody. But now it's resurrection time. Allah forgive. Why don't we? Islam?
Islam.
I'd like to bring
Islam. Islam. All right, I'm going to address a question. Brother, before I go into the question, even dealing with that subject matter on who controls the Moorish movement, it's very simple. And this is why Drew Ali enforced constitutional law, is because it's interchangeably applied. 9/10 denotes possession. 9/10 denotes possession. 9/10 is possession of the law. So whoever controls us is controlling the Moorish movement. Because the Moorish nation controls the Moorish movement. And if they have possession over us as being Moors, then they control the Moorish movement. We're not controlling it. Don't mean that we're supposed to accept that. What we need to be talking about is what can we do to gain possession of the Moorish movement. COINTELPRO has been put in place to counteract who controls the Moorish movement. Wow. This is why Drew Ali came back upon the scene in 1913. Because our flag was took down in 1774. Drew Ali also emphasizes that out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. A guide is a director, one who controls, or a controller. So this is why the Moor Science Temple was put in place, to counteract that. Now, brother man, you had a question based on the plate.
I want you to explain what we was demonstrating about the other day about the significance of the numbers and everything. And what it represents, what it means.
All right. I'm holding up, and this is a tag that we use out in Jersey. Not all the Moors use this tag out in Jersey. But first I'm going to explain the jurisdiction, because jurisdiction is important, even going back to the subject matter of who controls the Moorish movement. Everything is based on jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means authority. So when you hear us in court demonstrating what's your delegation of authority, or who gave you the power, when you see it, we don't refer to certain people sitting in the East calling themselves judge, we call them magistrate. The reason why is based on jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means authority. Who has the authority, or where do you derive your authority from? This is what we have to get into. Who has jurisdictions over our individual self? This is why when we go into courtrooms, they ask you, how do you plead? All depending on how you answer lets him know who has jurisdiction over you. If we don't understand the technicalities of law, then we keep giving up jurisdiction. Our intentions could be well into reserving our rights. But until we understand how to stay within a common law venue, then we will keep waiving our divine guidance, our divine authority brought back to us by Noble Drew Ali. Islam? Islam. The jurisdiction of the Moorish nation is an independent nation. It has a constitution. It has a flag. We know all these things. That's our jurisdiction. We have our own customary laws in harmony with the Republican constitutions all around the planet. What's being misconstrued is that word republic is not really sitting on our dial plate. Whenever the republic has been overthrown, the jurisdiction and the authority goes right back to an individual. So a lot of Moors get caught up into what plate looks better, or what plate has more authority, or what plate works better than the next plate. What's on this plate don't even matter. If we erase all the words off this plate and just had these two flags here, that shows our jurisdiction and our authority. This flag here shows our authority. No one can pull rank or jurisdiction over us if all we had on the car, on a conveyance was just these flags. Because that lets whoever's pulling us over and questioning us, it lets him know that we're not within his jurisdiction. Because Article 4 Title 4 of the United States Codes of Laws explains the jurisdiction of flags, that flags govern all events. So back to the symbolism. Symbols is worth 1,000 words. Islam, brother? You had a question?
Kind of like a statement, because you mentioned that flag.
Yes.
It's on record that it's the oldest flag, period.
Yes.
You'll see in this day and time now, a lot of nations have their flags now, waving them from their cars, from their homes.
Yes.
That flag that you're speaking of right there that's on that plate is a flag that everyone is going to need in this upcoming time because the Black Plague is coming back.
Absolutely.
They're setting it up now. And that's the only thing it's going to say because it actually represents a people.
Islam. That's absolutely correct. That's why we ought to worship under our own vine and fig tree. That's going back to your flag. And your flag is going back to your nativity, your natal, your mother. So nationality and flag is harmonious with each other. So when you claim or represent your flag, then you are showing your nationality or declaring your nationality just by the demonstration of the flag alone. Islam.
Islam, sir. What all documentation does one need when operating a motor vehicle under a Moorish demonstration besides a plate?
All right. First of all, according to divine law, which is the Constitution, it's the supreme laws of the land, you really don't even need a tag or a plate on the car. Supreme Court has ruled on that as well. Now, the only reason why we use a tag is just to avoid the inconvenience, because if they don't see anything on it, there's no claim to the conveyance at that point. And you notice how I use the word conveyance, because terminology, words, takes it out of their jurisdiction as well. So when you say things like vehicle, motor vehicle, now that's a terminology that they created for commercial activity. Now they can regulate the activity of whatever it is because they put their spirit on it. When they put their name on it, they put their spirit on it. Now they can regulate within that jurisdiction. So we use the word, we use similar words, but we use conveyance. All right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to get to the documentation part.
Yes, sir.
But if I took the symbols off and just had the words here, just deal with the top word. It says Moorish National. Now, we explained yesterday what Moorish National meant. By saying Moorish National, automatically let the de facto police officers know that the regulation of that conveyance is not within its jurisdiction. So before you even get into any documentation, as soon as they get behind you and read this, it lets them know that it's not within their jurisdiction, point blank. The thing is, we have to know that. Because what happens is, when we start arguing the subject matters or right to travel and things like that, we get caught into what they call subject matter. We start arguing subject matter, which also gives them jurisdiction. Islam.
You talk about jurisdiction. It was just off of the simple form of your vehicle. Okay, now.
Conveyance.
Vehicle.
Right, your place. Okay. Now, being that we've been colonized, we're colonized, Christianized, we've been given a name that isn't ours. So therefore, if this is your name, and this isn't your language, or not a part of your language, then therefore, in order for you to reclaim yourself, you can't just add a B and an L on a Christian name. You got to go back and take a whole name. A name that means something significant to you and your maker.
Islam.
Yes.
Islam. And that's absolutely correct as well. What the key I want to focus on is, because a lot of us, and even in the sovereignty movement, patriot movement, different movements nowadays, everyone's attacking the issue of right to travel. Not just Moors, or being everybody's Moors and Muslims, but even the ones that's not claiming the status of Moor. is trying to exercise this demonstration. So we want to make it clear for everybody from different schools of thoughts, what's the best way to attack this situation? There's a lot of people is getting injured out there. And the recognition as whole is not there because we all have different concepts about right to travel or how to demonstrate driver's license fraud. So first, within the nation, like qualities, we have to have the same concepts of how we argue these issues. So it's not the documentation that frees you or that immunes you. It's what you know that's going to free you. Drew Ali say each tongue must confess its own. That's verbally. You have to individually stand on your square. Individually, without documentation. Now, documentation is just a brief. Documentation is just a reference to what you have proclaimed out of your mouth. Whatever you demonstrate, that's just to back it up for the record. Based on a common law, which is ancient, the way sovereigns notified other sovereigns how they did business was by way of documentation affidavits being filed for the public record in the government in which you live, the county recorder's office. That's an ancient public filing for sovereigns, set up by sovereigns. That predates the Constitution. That predates the states, the corporate states. We have to know that and argue that, going back to yesterday's demonstration as well, about people not honoring documentation and not wanting to accept documentation. So if you want to file an affidavit based on your right to travel, and first place that you should go is to the county recorders and give them your affidavit. And this is right back what the brother was asking yesterday about the name reclamation. It doesn't matter what type of document or what the subject matter is. That's the place where you go. You don't go to the state. The county was set up for that. But now when you go to the county, you have to know their obligation. Because they have relinquished their common law obligation, their constitutional obligation, their limited authority sanctioned by the Constitution, national Constitution. They have relinquished that or abandoned it. So they agreed to come under the corporate state, which is the U.S. democracy. We explained that yesterday. Now, so when you go there to make these public filings, they're going to say they don't know what you're talking about. Or that's not within their policy. It is within their policy. Because that's why the county recorders were set up. Remember, all government officials are elected. Anyone who holds office is elected. That's how you make a distinction between who's an officer and who holds an office. You measure that by their delegation of authority, which goes right back to an election. Who elected you? Because the people elects. Because the people are the government. I'm talking republic form of government now. I'm not talking about anything else. So based on a republic form of government, if we elected you to office, we're electing you based on an agreement. Contracts make law. An agreement means contract. So now that you have a contract or agreement with the people to carry out a certain fiduciary duty. So the county recorder is one county recorder. What you would call county clerk. The county clerk is elected by the people according to the Constitution of the state, republic, which is in harmony with the national Constitution, United States Republic. So that elected county clerk is supposed to carry out the functions of her office or his office based on the limitations of the Constitution. So the way you argue that is you have to speak according to the Constitution. Whatever the Constitution say, that's what she say. Look in your state constitution, and it'll tell you the functions of the county recorder. So when you go there, have that with you. Because if you don't have no reference of what they're supposed to do. They can tell you anything. They can give you a piece of paper and say, well, you know, this is what we filed, this is what we're supposed to do. If you have nothing to measure it by, then you can't argue with them. You say, no, this is not what you was elected to do. When was this ratified? Who agreed to this? Where can that be found for public record? If that can't be found for public record, then this don't count. Don't show this to me.
Demonstrate sheet.
This Constitution that I'm showing you says county clerk here, and this is a Constitution. Are you going by this? Have you breached this obligation? If so, then we can bring suit as the people. This is the only way we can reserve our rights nowadays because they overthrew the republic. It's through suits. You're going to have to sue for your freedom.
All right.
You want to be free? You're going to have to prove it. If you want to be in your proper person, by name and principles, you're going to have to sue for it. You're going to have to make them honor who you say you are.
All right.
The documentation is not going to do anything because they know that the order, MST of A, Great Seal Order, whatever organizations out here has been corrupted. And they know people who don't qualify for what the documents say are running around with documentations, copying them,
Yes, sir.
forging people's signatures,
Yes.
grafting up seals that says one thing, but the individual is demonstrating another.
Yes, sir.
That's why order was put in place. That's why Drew Ali came to bring us or put us back into the constitutional fold of government. That's order. That's what the elected officials in your government is put in place for. Yes, they have breached their fiduciary duty as well. That's why we have these discussions. But really, it was their obligation. This was supposed to have been fixed generations ago. Islam.
For everyone that has not understood their constitutional function, if you were in your sovereign capacity as far as your name is concerned, that's a $250,000 fine for violation of your constitution. For them following the Constitution.
Yes.
You said, as far as your claim to go and get paid, you can get paid for every violation of the Constitution.
Yes. And that is only going to be enforced by putting liens on these people. Everyone should be studying common law liens. And I know some of us are familiar with the UCC-1 financing statements, but that's commercial liens. Now, it has a different venue for that. It's all right to do these UCC-1 financing liens, but you understand that to prove they're at fault, you have to have a contract. And you have to prove that they breached the contract. That's the only way the lien can be effective. Now, you can go throw a lien on anybody, and it can be processed. But now, whether it's effective or not depends on the tort or the validity of that. And I'm going to get to you in 1 second, brother. And also with that, if you do not have a valid claim on liens or any suit that you bring, remember you can always be countersued. See,
Islam Moors. Peace and love to all the Moors. That was our today's session. We'll just close out with our letters to be read every meeting. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their home, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near. So says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Ashe. Peace and love to all the Moors worldwide. Honors to the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam.